the invocation. My guest was unable to make it, so I will lead us with the invocation, then we will proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. Father God, I just thank you for this opportunity to come before you. I ask for your mercy, your blessings of wisdom and grace upon this council to consider what is brought before it, that we may do what is right in your sight and right for the people of Helotes. Guide us with wisdom. We thank you for this time of year and thank you for what you are doing in our community and restoring relationships and building up goodwill. Thank you for this time, and may your blessing be upon this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. At this point, we'd like to call forth Chief Moreland and also Derek Smith for a presentation. If you want to come up here to the front. We're excited to be here. As a full-time firefighter, I understand what it takes to study and promote, and we are very excited here to acknowledge Engineer Derek Smith for achieving this rank, and we are presenting you a certificate award to you for your promotion, and I want to congratulate you on behalf of the city. Diligence. I believe Chief Moreland.
Derek is, I guess the best way to put this is on the better late than never plan, because he actually took over the duties and achieved the rank of engineer back on October 1st. But scheduling has kind of kept us from getting together like this and making it official. So, very proud of Derek. He put in a lot of hard work, and he's been with us for a while now. He and I kind of shook the tree here at the same time, so we're glad that we have him, and we're really proud of him for achieving this. This is something important for all of us. And with no further ado, we're going to pin his badge on his chest. I think family members going to come up here and do it. Dad?
You look great for your age here.
Get the councilman photobomb.
1, 2. Want to do a funny one?
What are you doing back there?
I'm trying not to photobomb this moment.
Thank you.
We can edit that out. Hey, I did all right.
Okay, that brings us to citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody signed up?
No, Mr. Mayor, no.
Online or in person? No? Okay. That'll bring us to consent agenda items number 4 and 5. Do we have a motion, a second for consent agenda items 4?
Mayor, I'll move we approve consent agenda items 4 through 5.
Motion by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Merchant. Well, with no comment or questions required, thank you all, and congratulations. All in favor of approving consent agenda items number 4 and 5 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. I was just seeing if we,
Linda might show. It'd be nice. This is her.
okay. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll then move on to item number 6. Well, this is a discussion, I'm sorry, this is discussion and action. So we have a motion and a second for item number 6 is written.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we discuss and take action on item number 6.
Motion made by Councilman McCrossin, second by
I'll second it.
Sanders. Sir, any comments?
I looked over everything like that we saw on the agenda and saw Selena's note from P&Z. So, I feel that, even with one dissent that I would approve this. I don't see anything that I would add or take away from it.
Councilman?
So I echo what Councilmember McCrossin just said. So I do know there was one person on P&Z that was concerned, and I think it was more of a technicality. It's not really everything is in compliance. It's just, I think the way it was submitted, they were saying a sign was facing Leslie Road, and it's really kind of on an angle. I think it looks great, and that's really the whole point of the ordinance, right, is to provide us pretty good guidance to not do anything crazy. And so that sign on the right was the one that was a little bit discussed at the P&Z meeting, and I think it's fine. And I will tell you, the old sign that was there, I had a hard time actually recognizing where they used to be called BMC Mills, where they actually were. I had a hard time identifying it. So I'm thinking a lot of the truck drivers and stuff that pick up their supplies there, that would be very helpful. So I'm good with it.
No issues here. No issues.
I think it looked great, no problem.
Yes, and I attended the P and Z meeting, and yeah, they definitely did discuss that a lot about, well, is it facing, is it abutting? But the upshot of the whole thing was, it's fine, they approved it, and so I recommend we approve it as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your comments. With no other discussion, all in favor of approving item number 6 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're looking for a motion and a second for item number 7 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we discuss taking action on number 7 as written.
I'll second that.
Motion by Merchant, second by Massey. Councilman?
We've been through this a bunch, and it's just a minor change in wording, right, for the zoning issue. It's just,
It's basically adding the certain categories such as the fairgrounds and schools and anything that's indoor entertainment, which already has certificate of occupancies that can have these type of events.
Right.
So as we were looking at the application and the staff was looking at all this, is that they already are allowed to have big events or have this kind of capacity. So to have them have to pull a special event permit to have these food trucks is just an extra burden on those businesses.
I agree. Well, I'm glad we thought of that.
Yes.
So I like the elimination of redundancy, especially in our city, so.
So for those that have not been tracking, just a point of clarification, the easiest way to explain this is thinking about a school, and they have countless events in their parking lots and whatnot, and they throw in a food truck. The food trucks that they will be using will already have had an annual permit through the city. They will already be pre-approved and inspected, so it's not a case of problem with the actual food truck itself. And there's a variety of lists that we're populating of ones that have their current annuals pulled. It really just, it does not make sense to continue to ask for event permits for a facility that does events.
Already does it.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, I just have a question about indoor entertainment. What exactly is that?
Like an event center. So the problem is when you do look at our schedule of uses, we don't have event centers.
That's what,
Yes, we don't have event centers listed, so they fall under indoor entertainment. That is actually what we have it listed. So the only ones that we have as indoor entertainment is just like Gigi's House, which is already in Old Town Helotes, or like Floors, a country store. They are already through between their certificate of occupancy and their TABC license, considered entertainment, event centers, and so forth. So example, Floors has.
I guess my, my literal mind was thinking, how they're going to get this mobile unit into an indoor thing? Because they're supposed to be outdoors, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's,
And it's because the way our schedule of use
Is written.
is written, we just don't have an event center or what other cities would consider an event center or an entertainment type like Floors. That's what they're listed under as indoor events.
So, an event like Wine 101 in the outdoor area is a kind of a micro venue, an event center. You can almost think about it. If you think about behind Country Club, if they had an event there, how do you classify that? So by using or
but it's
future
this-
business.
The thing is, we have to put indoor entertainment because that's what our schedule of uses actually says.
Exactly, and that's
And
what,
is it described? Is it
it is
description?
description on there, and then they have to get a certificate of occupancy listing them as that.
Okay.
And those are right now the only places that
Oh.
have that here in the city.
So it's not real dubious, so we kind of know which,
Yes, we will know which ones, and they have to have a certificate of occupancy listing that.
okay, well, as long as it's not gonna be like
No, and,
esoteric and people are too vague.
no, they have to have a certificate of occupancy that lists that.
Okay, that's good. I'm fine with it then.
Okay, it's good. Nice catch.
Yeah, same thing. Nice catch. And appreciate you bringing it back to us. That's it.
Now I'm good to go with it.
Okay.
I'm good too.
Thank you. I asked more times. So I got counting up there. It's like, who'd I ask twice? It was you.
Yes.
All right. Without any further discussion, all in favor of item number 7 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to item number 8. Looking for motion and second for item number 8 as written.
I move that we discuss and take action on item number 8 as written.
Councilmember Massey.
I'll second that.
Crossan.
The only question I have is I didn't realize we had an opioid crisis in Helotes. I mean, do we have this situation happening in Helotes?
So this was a frustrating letter for me to receive, even though we're receiving funds on principle. So for those that are not aware, there was a massive lawsuit nationally, opioid crisis, state of Texas, and awards were given, and so we got our share. It's frustrating that the point of this is that there were people that suffered from addiction from over prescribed opiates, and so these people suffer, so the resulting is to find this company to give to the city, where these people receive no help. But that is how it was designed. This was money that was determined to go to the municipality, and so we are in receipt of that check, and so we have to do something with it, and receive it is the first thing we do with it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, is Johnson & Johnson is no longer allowed to sell or make or sell
There's,
opioids.
so that's,
Kind of interesting. I I knew that I've seen the news and seen opioid crisis throughout the country, but I was thinking, what does Helotes, I don't know. It struck me as very odd that we would be getting, it's what, 15,000? And there's no restriction on what to use the money for, pretty much, right?
There's no restriction.
Okay, so basically, we would be accepting this fund. And then, but the other thing too is the resolution says that we cannot go back and sue. I mean, once you accept it's a settlement, once it's accepted, if anything happens, you can't do anything.
You don't even have to accept it.
And we don't have to accept it, and that's, anyway, that's something that I've actually been thinking about, not accepting it. So,
I don't know, it's a little by like in the NFL, somebody gets hammered by somebody and that other person's get fined and the NFL gets the money. Like what happened to the guy that just got his face beat in, he doesn't get anything. And it's a little bit frustrating in nature of how the awards were given and who they're given to. But here we are with $15,000 unrestricted. Crossing.
So, yeah, Councilmember Massey brings up a pretty good point about the settlement. I didn't even think about that. To my knowledge, I guess all I've seen in the news has been, I think, Kentucky or Tennessee and their CVS's or Missouri, where they had issues, and we only have the one here. I don't know that any other, well, Walmart has a pharmacy. That just kind of threw me. I didn't even think about that whole settlement part, that if we accept it, we lose, but the ability to do anything. But then again, in the future, what capacity do we have to bring any of those corporations, prove anything as well?
Well, with the settlements given, whether we accept it or not, that's a done deal as far as the corporation's liability to that issue.
Yeah.
Hence, it's the settlement. So your refusal to accept it just means you give the money back to the company.
Or I thought it would be the Secretary of State.
Hang on.
I'm sure they're going to.
We give it back. We don't get anything in
Yeah.
exchange for it. So really, the question is at this point,
I mean, I understand.
it's not going to the victims.
Yeah.
And so the question is, can it go to the community that the victims reside in? Whether we have any victims or not, we have no knowledge of, but it's based by community and community size and
So most of that's private information anyways, right?
correct.
The whole HIPAA, people's private medical conditions. And let me throw this out there, if I can speak. If we're having a sense there's a bit of a moral dilemma here. What if we accept it and then we turn around and we identify something local to then donate the money? Is that even a thought or something we could do? Something that's directly attributed to supporting people that have drug addictions?
As a city, you cannot donate money. As a city, you cannot donate money. What you can do is, as a city, you can't just donate money, just whatever. You can donate money to a service that a city can't provide. So like we can donate money to a senior service, or if there is a local nonprofit or a service that the city can't provide because we are too small, yes, at that point you can donate that money. If it's a service within the city that is providing it to your community.
So I was thinking of like drug rehab. I'm sure San Antonio has plenty of them.
Right, so if there was one here in the city of
It was
Helotes,
inside the city.
it has to be within the city of Helotes.
Gotcha. Okay.
On that note, Councilman, I think maybe the moral dilemma is accepting this money or not. But I think that this is an opportunity for us to actually accept this money and do something for our community beneficially. Like we could, I know that our dispatch center at one point did some community outreach. They had BLS classes here. We paid for it. This could be used for that. We could do a Stop the Bleed. We could do, Bandera Road is getting crazy. If we had citizens, and 1560 is about to get widened too with a lot more traffic. And if we had citizens who live here who know how to help people in an emergency so that the fire can show up and take care of them, this might be a way to use that money morally, effectively, and with a good conscience.
If that is the case, what we can do is, because it's unrestricted, we accept it, it goes into unrestricted funds. And then if we determine that there is something that we want to do as a city, obviously this was unbudgeted, and there's something that we can identify. We don't necessarily have to, because it's unrestricted, we don't have to identify it at this point, but we can keep our eyes open for things that come up that we feel benefits the community as a whole, and try to be altruistic with that amount of funds. it doesn't, the blessing here is it's not specifically restricted and put into a black box fee, but we can just be here morally conscious of wanting to do something positive in the community, even though we might not know exactly what that is tonight.
Absolutely, it's agreeable, or at least to me, it's agreeable.
Question is, you would have to ask yourself, who has the better chance of doing the most good with this money? Us, Secretary of State of Texas, anybody else that might get their hands on it?
Well, I don't know.
Because it's going to somebody.
Yes.
Being frustrated with the process is a point of conversation, but at this point, question is, do you want to take it and do something good with it? Do we want to refuse it and stand the moral high ground and then have somebody else do something that's not as good with it? Or any other decision we can make. But what we do with the money is not something we have to decide tonight. The question is accepting it.
She get a chance to say anything?
I'm sorry. Councilperson?
So I see that Bear County got about over $7 million, and I assume San Antonio, of course, gets the lion's share because that's,
4 million?
you know, where the people are. So I was wondering, is there any way to partner if San Antonio's doing something big where we can just partner with them out here to serve our citizens?
I know of, I don't want to say this eloquently and delicately, seeing as though I'm an employee of the city of San Antonio. I personally know of no specific thing they're doing with that money for outreach. Being unrestricted funds, that will go to their bottom line, of which I do know they have an abundance of demands for their money. So I don't know that they have any intentions of doing anything specific. However, that being said, if anything comes to light that they are come up with a project or that we could legally have the ability to, we could certainly join in, of course, with the amounts that they are receiving. If they do, they'll have certainly more funds than what we have, but we can certainly take a look at those as they come up and discuss them as these opportunities arise.
It seems like it would be a good opportunity for us to communicate also with the other smaller cities and see what they're doing with the money. And, you know, if somebody, it doesn't matter where the best idea comes from. If one of the other cities has a really great idea and we're like, oh, hey, we can do that in Helotes and it would be beneficial.
I know that I've looked at other cities' agendas. It has come up with the other cities, they've accepted it, but none of them have designated anything as of yet.
They haven't done?
No.
Okay. So is this something where we could accept the money, hang on to it and say, okay, we're going to earmark this and keep in communication with San Antonio and the other cities. Let's figure out what everybody's doing. And then, you know, like I said, wait and see if we come up with a good idea and they replicate ours, or the other way around.
So there is, because it's marked as unrestricted, I don't think we can throw on an earmark, which would put a restriction on it. But what we can do is we sit here with the conscious of wanting to do something positive in our community. And we know in the back pocket, if we come up with something that's outside of budget, because we've
Yeah,
budgeted
then we
tightly,
always come
and we
back.
know we've got that extra amount, it's unrestricted, and for whatever it is, we can use it for whatever we can legally and lawfully do. But it would require us accepting it tonight. In order to be able to have that as an option.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you going to say something? No, okay, I just wanted to say that, I mean, I get what everyone is saying, I just, not knowing, it says here, Section 2 findings of the resolution, we would be voting for this. The City of Helotes City Council finds as follows: there is a substantial need for repayment of opioid-related expenditures and payment to abate opioid-related harms in and about the City of Helotes. I'm sorry, I'm on the City Council and I know nothing about any opioid-related expenditures. And so therefore, I cannot vote for this, no matter the altruistic things y'all are discussing. I just can't vote for that. Because I just can't.
So, and just so I can look at the exact wording that you're referring to, what page are you on?
It's on page 1 of the resolution, section 2.
Okay.
Well, I think I would say, it does say that, but because you don't know that it didn't happen, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well,
Right? That's somebody's private information.
That's true, but I don't know. I mean, I think that, you know, if there was some opioid crisis in Helotes,
I mean-
I think we would kind of know about it in the news, you know, somebody died on the street because they had just got, you know, been,
So August 12th of last year, my son was on opioids. He got hit by a semi-truck. He lived. He's one of them. He was walking across 410 at 5 o'clock in the morning, high on opioids.
and who's, where did he get the opioids? From a pharmacy here in Helotes?
Hard to say. We'll never know. But there's an opioid problem here in Helotes, whether you know it or don't, whether it's our business to know this or not. It's there.
Okay, well.
It really is.
I didn't know.
I know, and, I mean, it was in the news, but it didn't have opioid-related stuff. But it's like, it's there, it exists. You know, and it's out there. It's painful for some people, and it's like shameful to share those things, you know, that somebody in your family has this problem.
And I get that, and the thing is, does Helotes, is Helotes, did Helotes pay for this situation, or was there something that we did?
No, but, so you know, EMS service was dispatched to that, right? So some city paid for it.
Okay,
I think in terms of that, and I don't know what a dispatch run costs anymore, but it's probably like around $3,000 at least to scoop somebody up and take them to the hospital. And I, you know, who knows how often that happens out here on Bandera Road.
So I think what we are also facing is the fact that we have some generic language that has to be assigned to every city across the state of Texas that is dealing with this, whether their award was $4 million or whether it was $127 in a small town with a population of 3 people. The point is that somewhere somebody decided to divide it out. I'm sure population came into the effect, and so therefore an award was given to each city. Now they're stuck with receiving this because it's a total settlement based upon however many millions of opioids were given and how many cases were known of, and then a settlement was arrived at and they divided across, which is,
I understand all of that. I was just trying to see how it related to Helotes, and I would like to thank Councilmember Merchant for being so forthcoming, because now I understand that our EMS service probably has helped these individuals. So I would think that some of this money could be earmarked for our services in the fire department and maybe in the police department. But again, I'm not going to say that's part of, you know,
It's not a bad idea.
I just think that now that I understand that there is some need for this in the city, then I can vote for this.
I will say that
like
having, as a full-time firefighter, I can say that we've scooped up a lot of people in my district, San Antonio, and I have not specifically spoken with the fire chief on breakdown of our calls here and any that were related, but a lot of calls in our transports and our responses those bills do not get paid.
Okay.
They do not get paid, they go unpaid, and if you take a look at our collection rates, you see a small percentage actually paid, you know, and compared to what you would think it should be, especially with insurances out there. Often people with drug overdoses not carrying insurance.
Right.
Or whatnot, and so there is a cost to the city in providing services that, had that problem not been there, we wouldn't have incurred those costs, right? How many specific? We could certainly do some research and find out how many calls, but then we also get into the HIPAA information, et cetera. So all the best we could do is generically say that we had X number of calls throughout the year and a certain percentage based upon how they were coded. In the computer system of response, there's response codes like breathing problem or shooting or stabbing, or it could be come in as an overdose. And I will also say that actually in my experience, just because it comes in as a sick person, it might actually be an overdose, but when the person called 911, they didn't identify it as that. So it would be approximate, but not exact by any stretch of the means, to even in an audit, as it were. But for sure, there are costs that we have incurred as a city that we have paid out of budget for the gas and the fuel and the manpower and the wear and tear on the vehicles, and et cetera. It's cost every time they roll. So a reimbursement to the city is, this award to the city in unrestricted funds means it goes in the general funds, of which that's what we pay all
Yeah,
those on.
no, well, like I said, it's clear to me now. I get it.
I just want to say, good conversation. This is how a council should work, right? We talk through the issue, what might seem like a quick snap your finger kind of thing. We go down all the different rabbit holes and come up with a good picture, some clarity. So anyways, you convinced me, the team's convinced me, I'll support it.
Any other comments? Okay. No more discussion. All in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to staff report. We have a presentation by our very own Joshua Mayer. If you want to come up. Thank you, Joshua.
Ready?
I believe today we are talking about the municipal separate stormwater system.
Just tell me.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor and Council, for being here tonight and allowing staff to present the City of Helotes Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Annual Report. Little back history for new council members that may not know. I know Cynthia has sat through this a few times, but the City of Helotes is required to maintain a permit with the state of Texas to allow the rainwater that hits the ground in the city of Helotes to go into the creek and down towards the coast. We have to maintain a discharge permit. Theoretically, if we did not maintain our discharge permit, the state could make us collect all rainwater that hits the ground. So you guys get an idea of the lunacy or the controversy, whatever word you want to use there, on what we're doing here. But the ultimate goal of this program is to prevent as much measurable pollutants as we can from going down the state waterways of Texas. So everyone understands the state waterway is anything that can carry water, whether it's dry or whether it's a year-round stream or river, anything that goes down. So if I say anything, you have any questions, please just interrupt me. I'll try to go through this as fast as we can, just so we get the information and we respect everybody's time. So the first question that we get asked a lot is, what is an MS4? You can see the definition on their screen there is basically what I just covered. Anything that rainwater can run on from a street to a drainage system, catch basin, curb, gutter, ditches, all that. And then anything that's designed for the collection of rainwater, whether it be a retention pond, detention pond, a sediment filtration pond that you see in these commercial developments, is all part of the city's MS4. Quick overview, as I was speaking to you a second ago, the city is required to develop what's known as a stormwater management plan. That plan gets sent to the state of Texas for review. They send us back comments or approval based upon what's in the plan. And then once that plan's been approved, that's what we're required to implement over the next 5-year period. The permit renews every 5 years. In this plan, you have to set what's called measurable goals. And each one of those goals is achieved by implementing a best management practice, or BMP. Government likes their acronyms and abbreviations. So BMP, you'll hear that throughout the night. It basically stands for best idea we could come up with, right? Real quick, each one of those BMPs satisfies what is known as a minimal control measure, or an MCM. And the whole goal is, like we were talking about, to eliminate pollutants from the storm sewer system and provide quality protection for the bodies downstream of Helotes receiving waters. Within our stormwater management plan right now, we have 28 unique best management practices that meet one minimum control measure. This is a list here of the 5 minimum control measures at the state that we are required to by the state. There's an optional 6th minimum control measure, which we opted out of because it deals mostly with industry. We don't have a lot of industry here, so we were able to get away with not participating in that one. But the first minimum control measure is public education and outreach. Then we have a list of discharge, detection, elimination, construction sites, stormwater runoff control, post stormwater construction, and then pollution prevention, good housekeeping. And what we're going to do is just pick out 5 of these minimum control measures and talk about the best management practices that we're putting in place here in the city. So you have an idea of what the plan does and how we implement it here. So here, we'll start off with BMP 1-6. It's the education outreach portion. The minimum control measure is education outreach. And as you can see, we told the state that we were going to educate our elected officials and the public on an annual basis. So that's why I'm here tonight. This is a public meeting. It's being recorded, and our elected officials are here present. So everybody's being educated, and the outreach is being accomplished. At the end of the year, when the annual report's submitted, check a box, provide the date and time, provide the PowerPoint. 1 of 28 BMPs down. So we'll go on to the next one. This is another applicable minimal control measure, illicit discharge and elimination. It's best management practice 2-3, storm sewer system mapping. One of the things we told the state we would do is map all stormwater inlets, outflows, and concrete structures, stormwater structures, bridges throughout the city. And then what we would do is make that map and keep that map updated. So currently we have 100% of the stormwater structures within the city of Helotes recorded and cataloged and mapped, and we update that on a regular basis when we get new infrastructure built in, whether it's through commercial development or neighborhoods and things like that coming in. We don't map private infrastructure, only things that we publicly maintain. The next minimum control measure is a construction site stormwater runoff. It's probably one of the most significant minimum control measures. The biggest pollutant in any waterway is sediment, which is weird because you think about water runs on top of dirt or rock, but the sediment's the #1 pollutant. But it's talking about foreign sediment, and a lot of that foreign sediment comes from construction activity. So here, we're told the state that we were going to conduct stormwater pollution prevention inspections on all active construction sites that meet the requirements that to be called an active construction site. And then we document those activities, document areas of noncompliance, and then resolve them in ways that meets our city code as far as the MS4 code. Since January 2001, we have conducted 119 inspections on 13 active construction sites. We're required to do every 14-day inspections on active construction sites. So right now, the JUPE, the Apple Pest Control goods and developments going on. Every 15 days, 14 days, we go by there and do an inspection, make sure that they're in compliance with their stormwater pollution plan, document any out of compliance issues, and resolve them. So we record all that, and that's part of the report to the state. Then we have the post-construction best management practice. It falls under engineering, design, and review. So once construction is done, how do we ensure that that site stays stabilized and we don't continue to have disturbed soils? The way we do that is having our city engineer as well as myself review any and all applicable city ordinances as far as post-construction, whether it be detention of the water, filtration of the water, things like that. And then every development that comes to the city of Helotes, commercially speaking, is required to submit us a stormwater management plan that gets reviewed. Yes, sir.
So what about like major development areas like Brycewood?
Sure.
How does that tie in? I know it's not commercial, it's residential, but that's a big thing.
So as far as construction and classification, that is a commercial development until it's not. right? Until someone's living there. And the way that that's determined is 70% stabilization. So in our code and in the state code, there's a requirement of 70% stabilization. So if there's 100 acres, as soon as 70 acres of that development is fully stabilized and sods planted and stormwater structures are in place, then the permit can be closed. It'll be deemed residential. We do pretty much. We also in our code have another sidebar to this that's done through our building code, where we require residential buildings to also be stabilized before. And I know Iron Horse has some issues with that up there, so one of the catalysts for doing that. So we kind of keep track of them. Basically, we want to make sure everything's just completed and stabilized. So another control measure. This comes down to in-house activities, pollution prevention, good housekeeping. This is disposable of collected stormwater sewer systems. George with C6 is here. What service he provides the city as part of his current franchise agreement is he provides us 810 cubic yards a year, I believe is the exact number, of disposal from municipal activities, right? So when the Public Works Department goes out and we cut a hole in asphalt, we have to throw that asphalt away, trim trees, whatever it may be. C6 provides us a rollout dumpster that we use on a daily basis to dispose of that material. And all that is not done because we just want, a dumpster. It's basically because we're required to do it so that we're not contributing to the pollution of the discharges, and we report that to the state annually. George gives me a report once a year of how many cubic yards of debris we dispose of in-house, and all that goes to meet our requirement through the state of Texas. One of the last slides here, how we've been doing. We have had an approved stormwater management plan with the state of Texas since 2010. 2010 is when I took over the program here in the city. Currently, we have a plan submitted to the state. They are reviewing, obviously, stormwater management plans from cities throughout the entire state, a whole bunch of them. So they haven't sent us any word back that our plan's not approved. With that being said, they haven't sent us any word back saying that our plan is approved, and we're over 2 years into the plan. Don't let that alarm you. We're not the only ones. I just spoke to a couple other cities in our area going through the same thing, but we did get some comments back that we immediately corrected. For TCQ is minor things, date and year type stuff. So I can't guarantee you our plan's approved, but I'm 99% sure it is until we get that. And then on the other side there, we have been audited by TCQ. They're surprise audits. They really don't give us a lot of lead time. They just say, hey, we're coming. And then they check our program, go through our plan, make sure we've done everything we need to do, as well as we submit an annual report every January. So right now within the departments, one of the things we're working on is to do by the end of January. And the one time we have been audited was back in July 2020, and we had zero demerits, zero deductions or anything like that. So we passed with flying colors.
I'd like to point out that the investigator from TCEQ is of no relation to me. Miss Juliana Whitehead.
Yeah. And a lot of times with TCEQ too, we do have residents reach out to TCEQ, and what TCEQ does is, because we're the local authority and we are an MS4 city, TCEQ just forwards on the complaint to us, and then we report back to TCEQ what was done to resolve that complaint. We've had complaints, everything from dust flying in the air from Vulcan to oil leaking from a truck to you name it. So we're the I think the term that used to be thrown around a lot was an unfunded mandate down from the state. They don't fund it, but we have to do it, and so that's what we do. And that brings me to the end. I believe it's the last slide. So if you have any questions on MS4, stormwater, or only rain down the drain type slogans, feel free to ask now. We are currently working on a mail out. So everybody that lives in the city of Helotes in the next couple of weeks will actually receive some MS4 education through the mail, and also social media. Samantha is working on that along with April right now. So there'll be posts on Facebook and that's also part of our public education outreach program, so. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the audit. When they show up for an audit, do they just kind of show up, or do they make an appointment to come, number one? And number two, do you take them out in the field? Do they want to see anything?
So we've only been audited one time, and the audit, we had basically a 48-hour notice. Half of the day, not half the day, half of the time that they were here, they wanted to see the paperwork in our administrative program to ensure that we're going out and doing inspections when they're supposed to be done. They wanted to see the record keeping, and they wanted to see how we were reporting everything up to the state. And then they wanted to see our annual reports. The inspector asked to see those. We have gone out into the field with TCEQ inspectors. It's kind of rare. In fact, the only time we did it was with a large development because it had some discharging onto the neighboring property, and the person who was raising the concern called a lot of people. So we made sure that a lot of people were there when we resolved the issue, just to make sure everything was communicated. But they don't really spend a whole lot of time in the field with us. There's only a few inspectors, and there's a whole lot of cities they gotta audit, so they're in and out.
Any other questions?
Well, I do. Josh, how do you work with neighboring communities? Because, Helotes has a lot of hills, and a lot of runoff goes into other neighboring communities. How do you work with them at this? Do we just take care of us?
That's a great question. So one thing that we are fortunate here is water runs downhill. So most of the illicit discharge is away from us if it does happen. But with that being said, every entity over a substantial size is required to have an MS4 program. Even TxDOT has an MS4 program for their state highways. Bear County has an MS4 program. City of San Antonio has an MS4 program.
Sure.
And then they all work together. I know Marion has told me some stories about the MS4 programs and her former place of employment having much more issues than we have here, but not because of their fault, but because of a neighboring entity. And so the best thing we can do is work together and communicate. And I'm happy to say right now, the biggest entity that we have to deal with, it would be Bear County or City of San Antonio. Both of those entities were on a first name basis with. The city here allowed me to be a representative on the Bear County Regional Water Management Committee for a number of years. So we have a direct point of contact for their MS4 managers. And then Bear County was also part of that board, along with the River Authority and a whole bunch of other entities. So that communication line's well established.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. Thank you for that excellent education.
That was.
With no other items to discuss, we will adjourn. It is 7:48 PM.